Hello, I'm Dr. Debbie, and if you've been on my channel before, you've heard me say this already. Men and women are different by design, always have been, always will be, and that's a very good thing. But it can really mess up communication between a husband and his wife. However, when he's respected and she is valued, something powerful becomes possible. They develop the capacity to create a meaningful life together. That does not mean a life without challenges. Challenges are part of being human. But it does mean the relationship becomes a place of strength rather than a place of strain. In healthy marriages, the sequence is always the same. First comes understanding. Second comes being understood. Only then does communication become clear and problem solving truly work. Unfortunately, most couples reverse that order. They rush to fix the problem before they understand each other. And that mistake alone creates years of unnecessary frustration. You know, everyone longs for the luxury of being understood. And yet, being understood is rare. Stephen Covey once wrote that most people listen not to understand, but to respond. In close relationships, that habit becomes especially costly. While one partner is still speaking, the other is already forming a response, particularly when they see things differently. An ancient proverb captures this perfectly. To answer before listening is folly and shame. How can a couple solve a problem before they know what the problem actually is? Men and women live on the same planet. They belong to the same species. Neither is superior, but biology, development, and lived experience shape how each sees the world. Without a framework for understanding those differences, couples repeatedly push the same emotional boulder up the same hill, only to watch it roll back down again. That struggle is exhausting, and it's entirely unnecessary. Understanding requires wisdom, judiciously applied knowledge. No one can understand something they refuse to study, and that includes understanding the opposite sex. When a man does something a woman doesn't understand, she usually believes he's wrong. When a woman does something a man doesn't understand, he often just gives up. Neither response is helpful. During my years in clinical practice, I noticed how profoundly misinformed couples were about one another. That realization led me to create workshops and educational materials focused specifically on male-female differences, all based in biology, psychology, and reported experience. My first book was written for our premier workshop, and I used it for more than a decade with couples at all stages of marriage. The book's structure was intentional. First, a foundation for understanding women, then a deep exploration of men, both interspersed with tips for practical application. What surprised me most was how couples chose to read the book. Time after time, men and women focused primarily on their own gender rather than the opposite sex. One woman reading the book at her desk during her lunch break was so moved she had to go sit in her car to regain her composure. She wasn't crying because she learned something about her husband. She was crying because she felt understood. For the first time, her deepest longings were named, longings she had never fully articulated. She hoped, quietly and desperately, that if her husband read those words, he would finally get it. He didn't. Instead, years of unresolved hurt hardened into defensiveness. He saw anger where she felt fear. She saw indifference where he felt overwhelmed, and both felt misunderstood. In another case, a man arrived for a consultation in my office with a copy of my book in his hand, filled with more sticky notes than I could count. Within minutes, he pointed to a page and said, "I've been trying to tell my wife this for years." Ironically, his wife had no idea there was a problem. From her perspective, the marriage was good. They even mentored other couples. What they didn't realize was that something essential was missing from their own relationship. It took 6 weeks of them working with me for her to finally hear him. Why? Because understanding precedes being understood. Couples who made real progress with this new way of looking at marriage didn't rush the process. They read to understand themselves first, then they read again to understand their mate. Knowledge followed by application, wisdom through repetition. When couples resisted reading, their progress slowed dramatically. It was like taking a college course while refusing to open the textbook. It can be done, but at a great cost of time and money. Watching what happens when a man and a woman are finally taught the truth about one another's lived experience, yes, even within a counseling setting, is what ultimately shaped my mission. Today, my goal is to place this foundational knowledge into the hands, heads, and hearts of far more couples than I could ever reach one at a time. Through online education, I'm able to extend that learning well beyond the limits of a traditional counseling office. Rather than working with a model that often stretches on for years without lasting change, I now get to provide the fertile ground of understanding that couples need to move forward more clearly, more confidently, and far more quickly than they ever imagined possible. So what does that understanding actually look like? Well, when it comes to a woman, a few truths consistently matter. She longs to be the center of her husband's attention, not to control him, but to know she is his top priority in life, and she longs to be adored. She often wishes he would take the lead more confidently while still honoring her perspective. She does not want to run him. She wants him to invite, welcome, and consider her input. As a woman, she sees dangers and details he may miss. Offering feedback is actually her strong suit, though she often doesn't understand just how poorly she's coming across. She also longs for compassion and comfort. Her sensitivity to danger and worry is not weakness, it's wiring. Physical reassurance matters deeply. Being held longer than a quick hug calms her nervous system in ways words alone cannot. On the other hand, a woman uses words to create connection. When that desire isn't understood, she may try to fix her husband instead of realizing he may not be wrong, he's just different. A man, too, is often misunderstood. He craves positive attention from his wife. For him, her attention communicates respect. And when he feels respected, his motivation increases to protect, provide, and care for her. He often defaults to problem solving because that's how he helps. The kind of comfort she wants doesn't always come naturally to him. Compassion is a skill they both need to learn, so their efforts don't get lost in translation. He longs to be his wife's hero, yet he often doesn't know how. And when his efforts are dismissed, he's more likely to refine his defensiveness rather than grow his confidence. He needs to know he's wanted. Affection matters. Kind words matter. Gentle touch matters. He's acutely aware of his imperfections. Respect given freely, not conditionally, strengthens his resolve to do better and better. Now, respect does not mean ignoring flaws. It means honoring design, just in case you didn't know. When respect is present, he rises, and when mutual trust grows, affection follows naturally. Many men and women spend years quietly frustrated, not because love is absent, but because understanding is absent. It's astonishing that gender differences are never taught, never in schools, churches, or even graduate psychology programs. Entire bodies of data are often dismissed because they complicate simplistic narratives. Yet wisdom demands curiosity. Men and women are different, always have been, always will be. And when they understand one another, they become far better equipped to face life together. Two perspectives, two hearts, two sets of hands. Working in harmony, they can build something extraordinary. If this conversation helped clarify why understanding must come first, I invite you to take advantage of my short, practical guide called 3 Secrets to Being Heard. It isn't about talking more, explaining better, or getting the wording just right. It's about learning how to translate understanding into language your spouse can actually receive without defensiveness, shutdown, or escalation. You'll find the link in the show notes if you'd like to explore that next step. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care.